Welcome to the Pillar Podcast, where we put racial equity front and center. Join us as we dissect equity policy, overcoming achievement gaps, and strategies that ensure equitable learning opportunities, experiences, and outcomes for all students.
Today I have with me Mr. Floyd Craig, Associate of DEP and recruiter for the Louisville Teacher Residency Program. Selena Fishback, Director of Louisville Teacher Residency Program, and Ms. Cicely Bullard, former LTR resident and current teacher at Western High School. Welcome, Louisville Teacher Residency. Happy to have you all.
We're happy to be here.
Hi.
Hello. So, Selena and I brought to you an episode on last year. This year, there's a new face in the room, Mr. Floyd, Louisville native, but joined the district last year. Floyd, what was your role prior to joining the Louisville Teacher Residency Program?
Are we saying like directly prior, or as far as my background in education?
Let's start with your background in education and then your most recent role.
Okay, so like you said, originally from Louisville, Kentucky. I started out teaching at Iroquois High School in maybe 07.
Okay.
I was at Iroquois High School for a number of years. I taught at Butyl Metropolitan, which ended up transitioning over to Minor Daniels. I was instructional coach at Breck Metro, and then I was a counselor at Highland Middle School. After I left Highland, I went to Purdue University, and I was the director of diversity initiatives in the College of Education. And now I'm here.
Oh. So, new to the district, definitely not new to education, nor a concentration on minority recruitment.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Well, new to the role.
New to this
New to
role.
the role, but not new to the district.
Correct.
Returning to the district.
Nice. Well, we are fortunate to have you back. Love to have you back, and it's been a pleasure getting to know you thus far. Miss Selena, you've been with the district for some time now. 4 years in the classroom, then charged to lead the ACES certification program, which focused on recruiting teachers and leaders of color. Now leading this wonderful division of DEP, Louisville Teacher Residency, in a similar capacity. With this role, you've been able to curate the program from ideation to what it is now. Since we spoke last year, obviously you have Floyd new on the team, but what else is new since last year?
What else is new? So this year we have expanded the residency program to offer special education certification. So we do have learning behavior disabilities included in our program options, as well as mild to severe disabilities added in. We also have expanded to a new middle school, which is Crosby Middle School. So we're super excited about that partnership. And we've added in a retention role for our teachers. So what we recognize that once our residents graduate and they leave our community, they are entering into our school communities, but they miss the network that we have within LTR. So we have coaches that are going out to support them, as well as trying to build out retention efforts to where they just still have that familiar and personal connection to our community while they're in their school buildings.
Perfect. We'd love to talk a little bit more about those new additions later on. And then last but certainly not least, Ms. Cicely, another Louisville native.
Correct, yes.
PRP.
All the way, homecoming queen 2005.
Okay. Well,
Shout out to the Panthers.
For those that do not know, that is Pleasure Ridge Park.
Yes.
Okay. Also graduate of the University of Louisville.
Yes.
Singer.
Yes.
Fashionista.
To some.
educator, much more. You're a former Louisville teacher resident and now full-time educator. Tell us a little bit about your current role and involvement at your school community.
So I teach ELA, which is English. I teach 9th grade English at Western, and I also coach the STEP team. It's just been a great experience. Last year in the LTR program, I was with 11th graders, so there was a bit of a shift to teach 9th graders, but I love it.
Nice. Well, I want to jump right in here. I want to lead the conversation with recruitment. I know that is a big topic right now. We are experiencing, not just here in Louisville, but just nationwide, a shortage in the educator pool. So that's where I want to start. So, Floyd, as a recruiter, generally speaking, is there a different approach to recruiting minorities versus non-minorities?
Generally, what I've seen is just a matter of the approach. Basically going where the demographic of folks are that you want to recruit. So as far as the strategies, as far as reaching out, as far as making those connections, a lot of that is pretty much still the same, but it's just a matter of understanding and identifying that need, or what it is that particular group is that we're looking to recruit.
And we know the overall applicant pool is low on a national level. How does that affect recruitment of minorities? Does it make it a little more challenging?
Absolutely. First of all, I'll just say there's a lot of work to be done. When we talk about recruitment, we're, like you said, we are looking at a shortage across the board, and this is a national shortage. There's also as far as the number of students who will be going to college in a couple of years, so we're looking at a cliff that we'll be coming up against as well. So,
it's tough all the way around. It's tough all the way around.
And as far as recruitment starts early. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about as early as middle school with dropping the ideas in our students' minds that this is something that you can possibly do, or this is something that you may want to consider. It's quite a bit that's also included in that.
So, Selena, this is the third cohort of Louisville Teacher Residency. Going into the fourth year, as we're talking recruitment, tell us about where the program is today as compared to last year.
So I think where we are today is we've added in an additional coach, and as I touched on earlier, we're looking at the retention efforts. And so where we are today is really creating a footprint within our district and within the community that is long lasting. So we don't want our residents to be with us for 1 year. We want them to feel a part of our community throughout their entire career. And so we continue to build on that, and hopefully each day our network grows stronger and our residents grow more competent and confident within the classroom.
Amongst your staff, in my opinion, having some familiarity with the program, the coaching position is critical to a resident success. When you're fielding applications for coaches and getting coaches on board, getting them to buy in, what are some of the characteristics and traits you look for in a coach?
Absolutely. So I do feel that our coaches are one of the strongest role groups within our community, and the role of the coach is to ensure that the resident is really developing their duties throughout the year, but they are also there as a supportive network, right? So we look for emotional intelligence for one, somebody that is able to balance the line of holding somebody accountable, but also being that safety net for when they are having those struggling days, because we recognize that the residency program is very fast paced and intense, and every day is not a good day.
Yeah.
Right? So we need somebody that is going to be able to push them to the max, but when they reach that max, they're able to pull back and love them back up to where they need to be for performance.
Cicely, describe your experience as a Louisville teacher resident.
Okay, so I initially had an interview for the AltCert program, and I was so happy about it. And I had a little presentation, and afterwards, they were like, you did super well. And then Dr. Woot Burnett came on the screen and was like, but we're gonna have to deny you for AltCert. I was so confused. And she was like, I want to recommend you for LTR. And I had never heard of the program. So I just asked for some information, all that kind of stuff. And I did my research, and I accepted to be a resident. And then from then on, it was fast paced.
Hit the ground running.
Yeah,
right?
hit the ground running. We started classes in June. Got to meet our mentors, future principals, and things like that. But I will say my experience was a really, really good one. I mean, there's those moments where I'm like, what am I doing? Like, this is crazy. But I think just coming out of it and looking back, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Floyd, interested in knowing what are some of your recruitment goals for this upcoming year?
The main goal is we're focused on the number 50. We're looking to increase the number from years past to this number 50. One of my personal goals, I would like to also recruit or increase the number of the African American males in this program as well. Well, I'll say African American and other males. Basically, we have a number that as far as we
need more. I like, and I'm with you, because again, I've worked with the Louisville Teacher Residency program, and you guys come down and do PDs and trainings at the satellite office. So I've seen the number of males, specifically the number of Black males, and I would second that. I think, in my opinion, that's a strong focal point. Again, being new to the district, you're not new to recruitment. What are some of the advantages of working with LTR, working for Jefferson County Public Schools, and just living in Louisville, period?
The main advantage of LTR is this is a program that is solid. It's one of those programs that, I guess, if I had the opportunity to determine whether I would go through a traditional role or this route, I would definitely choose this route. So the fact that I believe in this program, it makes it a lot easier. It makes it a lot believable when I tell people that this is a solid program. When I go into details of as far as the perks and benefits of the program, it's all true. So as far as the benefits, I mean, LTR is one of those programs that it's just a matter of letting people know that this is what we have and this is the product that you may want to become a part of.
And I think for me, one of the huge benefits is being compensated. Like, there's not too many places you can go get an earned degree, get real time experience, and get paid for it.
And the support that goes along with it. Like Selena said, the coaches, the mentor teachers, being able to be in these sites to where you're not necessarily allowed to fail. You pretty much are being able to get your feet wet, but also have that support and supporting you. So, I mean, just sharing that information, that, well, again, with the compensation as well, folks tend to light up when I talk about all the program has.
Yeah, and the one thing when I was working with the program, the question was, well, what happens when I complete? Like once I'm certified, what happens, right? And for me, a big selling point was like the guarantee of employment. Like I just don't think you really see that in a lot of industries. You know, even if, because I'm not historically a K through 12 teacher. I came from corporate, so even through internships, paid or non, like you're not really guaranteed employment, and I think that's just something special about the program, very unique. Selena, you mentioned earlier the addition of certifications in new content areas. How do you feel that's going to help in the recruitment efforts?
I definitely think it's going to open up more options for individuals that are looking to come into the classroom, especially in special education. Special education is a critical need across the board nationally, and especially within JCPS. And what I think makes it special is that you're offering that alternative route to certification with focus on that special role group of students, right? So looking at the various needs, looking at how you can identify those needs within the classroom, even before the teacher may do so. So we're super excited about that. We're also offering world languages. We know that being able to speak a second language is a hot commodity just within the employment field in general. So we're bringing in the world language certification so that we can make sure our classrooms are staffed with that special talent.
And Cicely, being a former resident, I'm sure you can resonate with this. From anyone from district leaders, administrators, and teachers, we talk about creating and developing a sense of belonging for our Black and brown students within the classroom. Did you find, or do you see Louisville Teacher Residency being a place where you can find that as an adult, right? That sense of belonging and community?
Absolutely. It's kind of like the same feeling of when you're in grade school and you have your favorite Black teacher, right? So you start there, you have a connection, you have similarities, you have similar experiences. So it's the same thing at the collegiate level or when you're an adult. You connect on the same level. You see brown people, Black people that are trying to achieve the same goal. So you have like a common ground, a common connection. So that was awesome.
What advice would you give someone looking or considering becoming an educator?
I would encourage them to ask themselves questions like, is this my purpose? Because this is purpose work. Like, it's not something to where like, hey, let me just try it out, dip my toe in. Like, you have to be committed, because my babies, they text me, they call me. It's always something. My brain is always on. So you have to ask yourself, is this your purpose? And you have to also ask yourself, will this fulfill you as a person? Like, do you like to help people? Do you like kids?
Yeah, right.
That's educators that don't like children. So just asking yourself those questions, and then if they're yeses, then go ahead and go for it.
So I'm assuming you asked yourself some of those same questions, but once you were in the program and completed it, how do you feel LTR prepared you for a teacher of record position?
I think LTR prepared me because I'm a relationship person. So I'm building relationships with children and adults. That's easy for me. But when it comes to the method side, I needed to dust off a little bit. And I feel like with LTR and our lesson plans and our meetings and our PDs, that really helped me gain some structure and like develop me as a person, develop me as a teacher.
Yeah. And so I like that you mentioned essentially self-work, right? This is the type of business that we're in, right? And I had a chance to sit down with our district's anti-racist specialist, and they speak a lot about self-work. Self-work being that of working on identifying and managing the individual biases we all have, right? Selena, what does what does LTR do to prepare teachers in a more inclusive way and culturally responsive way?
I think the first step for us is recognizing who we are as individuals as they come to us, right? So the first thing we do is a personality assessment, just looking at who are you naturally in your best self. Who is that individual? And then looking at naturally, what are your stressors? What are your triggers? What are the indicators that may be pulling you out from your best self? And then going into emotional intelligence as well. So we first start there, looking at the total individual and what do we need to do to be of service to that individual. And then we really start breaking down the layers of biases that an individual may hold, looking at their background, looking at their personal experiences that may have played a role into how they develop their personality and what their perception of the world is at large. And then once we really identify that individual, we then start connecting it to the classroom and looking at our students. Who are our students as individuals? Who are they bringing to the table? What trauma experiences have they endured? Right? So we're breaking down all of those layers. And the best thing about our program is that while they're going through this adjustment, they're not by themselves. So if a student comes into their classroom that has endured a tragic situation, they're not in there trying to figure out how to be of service to that student by themselves. They have their mentor teacher there, their coach, as well as professional development from the district office to really equip them with the tools necessary.
And I love that because it's you almost can't write it any better. Like, you're providing the resources to self-identify biases, trained on how to overcome those biases, and a lot of that work is done prior to really getting into the meat of creating curriculum, learning teaching styles, and actually getting in the classroom. So it's
Day one.
day one, not putting the cart before the horse. Kind of want to switch gears a little bit. A shift into more of the classroom, right? So as a former teacher, now district administrator, what changes would you like to see implemented around curriculum?
I think the greatest change I would like to see is bringing what connects to the student to the forefront, right? Like, we've always forced students to learn about what a greater system felt was relevant, or whoever the lawmakers are, or whoever's creating that curriculum that doesn't necessarily reflect the student, and maybe not the teachers. At least in my case, it didn't reflect me, right? So I want to see something that's in the classroom that is connected to the standards, but relevant to the students, so that they can take ownership into their education experience. They buy into it, they're excited about it, and they're able to take that knowledge base home and share with their family and communities as well.
And I want to come back to the mention of lawmakers and seeing things from a different lens. I'm going to put a pin in that. Floyd, as we talk about systematic racism and disproportionalities of Black and brown students, do you see the same disparities within the recruitment process of Black and brown educators?
I can't really say the same disparities. What I'm seeing, and what we see when we go to recruit our Black and brown brothers and sisters into teaching, is more of a response to the systems that are set in place. It's more of a response to what they have experienced as they've gone through school. So as far as the biases that they have, the biases that their teachers may have had, it's a matter of, for the most part, kind of moving through and moving past, so that they can see themselves as the difference maker, so that they can see themselves as the ones who can bring about that change and set up something as far as the like you said, making those changes in the curriculum.
So do you think it's for the majority of Black and Brown specifically, is it more of we're not educated on career paths within education? Is it more of I didn't see anyone that really looked like me, so I never really saw myself as that? What do either of you find to be kind of more the catalyst in that realm?
I can jump in. There's a couple of things. At what point did kids stop playing school?
Right.
It's kind of like bringing the glow and the shine back to education, and not so much just for the predominant group that we have, as far as basically white females, as far as the teaching profession, but pretty much everybody. Where is it, and at what point can we make it to where all of our kids see themselves in those particular roles?
So, jumping back to my pen, and when I heard lawmakers, this just popped into my head. But the Louisville Teacher Residency Program was essentially birthed out of the current board-approved racial equity policy. How important is it for a program of this magnitude to be embedded in not only district's policy, but in each school community?
I think that the success of the program is in the aspect of buy-in. And so when we're looking at our training sites, we're intentional about selecting principals and leaders that are committed and dedicated to racial equity. And so it is the foundation. And I think that we have to have that foundation because our district is a minority majority district, right?
Correct.
So most of the students sitting in our classroom are Black and brown. And if we're not catering to our audience, then that's a problem. And so when it comes to the buy-in of racial equity, it's non-negotiable. We don't accept residents that aren't able to talk about race. We don't, although we want all teachers within the classroom, we don't bring everybody into LTR because we are looking for a specific group of individuals that are able to go into the community and not only be educators, but advocates and
Correct,
maybe
yeah.
agitators in some cases, because we must disrupt our traditional education system.
And so the racial equity policy I mentioned was 2018. So we're inching on the end of that. Would you say that an extension of the current racial equity policy is imperative?
Absolutely. 100%. We have to see it through, right? And when we look at the numbers, and some people try to combat the idea of racial equity by the needles aren't moving or things aren't changing. When you look at our system did not start 5 years ago. So you're not going to see that system dismantled within 5 years. And the best thing that I can do is create teachers that are recognizing the importance of racial equity so that we can continue to impact generations that may not even be born yet, right? We are doing legacy work within our program.
And Cicely, how long have you been at Western?
So oddly enough, I was at Western at my previous position. I was a college counselor through the Kentuckiana Works. So I was at Western from 2017 to 2020.
Okay.
Yeah. And then so this year is my first year back since the pandemic.
Okay. Obviously, being a former LTR resident, you're familiar with what that career path may look like. Do you see yourself as a mentor teacher or maybe coach?
Yes, I could actually. I like telling people what to do. So I don't think that'd be difficult. But yeah, I definitely, like Selena was talking about earlier, LTR definitely feels like a community. We see each other out. We still go to lunch. We still ask about lesson plans and things that we've done in the program. So I think that would be a way of like playing it forward. So yeah.
Okay. Well, towards the end of each episode, I like to offer the opportunity to give a shout out. So it's just shout out time. I'm feeling like Cicely. I'm gonna start with you.
All right.
Is there a person, educator, administrator, friend, companion, anyone that influenced you to not only do the self work you've done, but to jump in the career path that you're currently on?
So there are two people. First is my 12th grade pre-calculus teacher, Miss McHugh. She, from the start, just showed me how to run a classroom. Like, she never raised her voice. We always knew it was a level of respect. So I always think about her when I delve into my classroom management. So shout out to Miss McHugh. Hope she's still with us. And then Dr. Lohelen Hambrick from U of L. I was in the MTRP program, and Dr. Hambrick was essential in my quest to be an educator. Like, she took me on my first NAPSE trip. We'll talk about that off the record. But yeah, just Black woman in education, powerful woman. I saw what success looked like as an undergrad, and I appreciate her for that.
Yeah. Floyd Craig. I want to say that one more time because I think Floyd Craig is a unique name like Ian Brandon. Do you ever get Craig Floyd?
Often.
Like two first names.
Correct.
Yeah, I can dig it.
You know?
2 last names.
Say less.
Well,
You're right.
I get Brandon Ian all the time, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think I've ever seen or heard of anyone with the last name of Ian. But I get Brandon Ian all the time.
I think I called you Brandon for like the first 3 months.
You did.
Apologize.
You did. And I appreciate you apologizing on the record for that. I did not take offense.
Thank you.
But no, Floyd, is there anyone that has influenced you to do the work that you're doing now?
There are some. There are quite a few actually, and most of those people were people that I was fortunate enough to cross paths with at U of L.
Mm-hmm.
There are those, I say Teresa Jarrett and Mary Thorpe with the Upward Bound program. I just say, for the most part, the second chance that they gave me changed my life. But then there was, I say, we just got Dr. Blaine Hudson. He was named for the West End Middle School.
Saw that on yesterday.
Yes, definitely. He's definitely one. Ricky Jones is definitely one. And I would also, Dr. Hambrick, she was one of my assistant principals in high school.
Wow.
There's quite a few. And I can't forget Clarence Talley, rest in peace. He was also one who looked out for me as well. And helped keep me focused and guiding on the right way.
Yeah.
I didn't mention Dr. Jones either. Dr. Jones, he called us by our last names, and no other teacher recognized us by our last name. We was always Miss Bullard, Mr. Floyd. Like, it's, yeah. And he told us we will never be successful if we don't get ourselves together. So, yeah.
And I gave this shout out before, but I'm gonna shout him out again because that just reminds me of Mr. White, James White, a 7th grade science teacher.
Wow.
He used to, anytime we would start getting out of line and say, "Young man, you ain't gonna make it. He ain't gonna make it." But we knew that's not what he meant literally, but it's just that snap, that quick call, that quick call, definitely. He made you give him respect, even when you didn't want it.
Set the tone of excellence.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely. Last but not least, Selena.
I have so many. Definitely the Marshall family at large. Dr. Bonnie Marshall is my mentor, and she has literally had her hands on me since I was 19 and molded me into the leader that I am today, as well as Dr. John Marshall, who does serve as my leader within the district. I'm very grateful for the platform that they've given me but also just Dr. Rita Greer, Dr. Eileen Gold, just so many.
Yeah.
And then I always, within my role, when I think of how I'm developing teachers, I always think back to my own education experience. And unfortunately, I did not have any teachers of color growing up. And I was often the only Black student in a classroom in my community. And so I'm also grateful for the examples that I don't want to be like and the examples that I don't want to carry.
That's
right?
important too.
Yeah,
That's
because I
important, too.
remember how it feels to be the only brown face in a classroom. And so I'm very thankful for my own educators that either showed me something I want to carry on or showed me something I want to ensure never happens again for students.
Well, I thank you all for joining me today. Is there any updates, upcoming events, anything you want to mention?
If you guys are not doing anything on February the 18th, Saturday at 1 o'clock, my STEP team will be competing for the first time
Okay.
at Moore High School at 1 o'clock. So
All right.
I'm excited about that.
Exciting. Our recruitment application period is in full swing. So please check out our websites, apply if you are interested, as well as attend any open house that we have coming up.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, and we will see you on the next episode of The Pillar.
Bye.